So a couple of weeks ago, my copy of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition for the Switch arrived. I put it into my Switch and it started up. No update required. I think to this day, a few weeks after release, there's still no patch for this game available. So Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is an example of a Nintendo Switch game being released in 2025, being complete on card, absolutely able to run, no problem, just on the card itself. So that should hopefully shut up the people saying that modern games are not even on the physical media to begin with anyway. And now I want to start talking about the very worrying and quite frankly, terrible state that we may see digital media to be in on the Nintendo Switch 2 in the future. We have learned that there are basically three different ways about just having games on Nintendo Switch in a physical form. The first one that people are freaking out about, and honestly I'm not even that worried about it, is the Nintendo Switch key card, which is an empty game that simply has a license on it. When you put it into your Switch, it will download the game from the servers onto your system. Now, we assume that this will not be tied to your Nintendo Switch online account, but to the card itself. So you may put it into your friend's Switch, it will download the game too. You may download it on your second Switch and so on. And even if you sell the cartridge, that person can download the game. So it's not tied to your account, it's tied to the key cartridge. That is the information that we have at the moment that, as far as we know, is true. Now, I think this is not a big problem because publishers are already doing that. They take the smallest size of storage SD card or SD card game card, put the bare minimum information on there and download the rest of the games. Now, we as Nintendo Switch or general physical game collectors always have the problem of finding out how much of the game is on the physical cartridge. These key cards will make it a lot easier to identify the games to completely avoid. So far it's always been download required on the package. Sometimes only half the game was on there, like Final Fantasy X and X-2. Only had 10 on there, X-2 was a download. Life is Strange didn't have Before the Storm on the cartridge and so on. So from now on it's only easier to identify the games to avoid in the future. Games like LA Noire are one of the first big examples on the system that came out that way. Banner Saga was one I was interested in, but I think it only had the first game on the card, the rest was a download, and so on. So it will only make it easier to identify the games I am not going to buy. We already see examples of that at the launch on Nintendo Switch. Bravely Default HD Remake is on a key card. The Street Fighter 6 is on a key card, so avoid these games like the plague. They are not on the card. They're not even actual game cards. They contain no information except for the license key, basically. The other one are the actual physical Nintendo Switch cartridges that have the Nintendo advertise it as having a higher read speed so it can load faster and so on and so on. These games should theoretically be fine to have the game on there and run without a problem as long as the publishers use it correctly. And if they don't, they may as well use the key card to save money on production. So I think this will actually separate the market into games to buy and games to avoid in the future. Whereas now it's a murky in the middle of people buying the 1 gigabyte card and then having you download the other 20 gigabytes of data. So it will just put a bigger divide because people will just, if they already require a download, in addition, they may as well get the keycard, save money on production. So I don't think the keycard will be a problem. The physical games, I just watched a video from Physical Paradise, who does a lot of videos about physical games, saying that he got information from basically an insider that Nintendo will only offer physical cards in the size of 64 gigabytes, which will totally break the neck of any indie developer who has games in the, 5 gigabyte range, maybe 10 gigabytes, Xenoblade Chronicles is not even 12 gigabytes big, so not even Nintendo would use the storage of the 64 gigabyte card. So I believe in the future like that information of 64 gigabytes may be exclusive to the launch window where they only produce one type of game card. Then they may diversify into different sizes in the future. That is not a fact, that is what I believe will happen. So if it stays, or if the information is true that 64 gigabytes is the only storage size available, that will be a big problem for smaller titles and basically kill anyone who's not a big AAA publisher. So I think they will figure that out in the future, and it will only be a temporary problem, if it's a problem at all. Which may actually be the reason why Square Enix went with a Bravely Default key card, because the game is only like 11 gigabytes in size and they didn't want to shell out for the 64 gigabyte card. That is what I believe at the moment, so I think physical games will be fine as well. My big problem that I have at the moment is the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition physical releases. Let me take a sip of water, I'm ranting on here. So what I believe is the big problem with these. Yesterday there was information released regarding the information text on the package. In the first Nintendo Direct presenting the Nintendo Switch 2, they said that games will be able to upgrade to better versions like Zelda, Breath of the Wild and so on. So you can put the Switch game in and buy an additional upgrade package for presumably like $10 to $20 in that range to upgrade it to a Nintendo Switch Edition. At the same time, they will also release the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition physical releases, like a box and a Nintendo Switch 2 package that contains the game and the upgrade patch. I'm thinking like amazing, like even if you have to pay extra, at least you have everything in one package. And with the wording on it, it always said contains the Nintendo Switch software, and the upgrade package sold can also be bought separately. Like the exact wording was on that. I thought amazing. Like, if I get the Nintendo Switch Edition, this must be some hybrid card that I can put into my Switch and it boots the Nintendo Switch version, or I can put it into my Nintendo Switch 2 and it will boot the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. We have seen this in the past, like with multi-boot games. Remember like the Burger King Xbox games, which had the Xbox version and the Xbox 360 version on the disc, and depending on what system you put it on, it booted the right version. I thought it would be a situation like this. Now, a Nintendo Switch like support, basically someone sent an email to Nintendo Switch support in the UK, I think, asking if like it will be on the card, like work on both systems, and they said, the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition physical releases will contain the Nintendo Switch card and a download code for the upgrade, which makes the Nintendo Switch 2 Physical Edition, like these names are terrible, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition physical releases basically worthless. Because why would you pay now 70 euros over here? It is, I think it's like $70, I think, maybe even 80, I'm not sure right now. For the Nintendo Switch Physical Edition, for a game that's cheaper on the Nintendo Switch, like you can get the Physical Edition like used or even in a store for cheaper, and you could buy the like $10 to $20 upgrade package. So you may actually be better off buying the original Switch version, buying the upgrade package at launch, and then just saving money compared to the box with the download code inside. Now, there's one glimmer of hope here. This Nintendo support employee may simply be wrong. This is one email someone got explaining how the situation will be. This is not official word from like Nintendo's press outlets. We have gotten information about physical releases from them before, but this is simply one support ticket that an employee may not be all correct about. This may be a mistake, and I really, really hope it is, because if it's not, I will not buy Nintendo Switch 2 Physical Edition Nintendo Switch 2 edition physical releases on the cartridge, because quite frankly the packaging for the Nintendo Switch 2 games is ugly as hell at the moment, and just the box for the Switch looks better. So I will simply, like, I was excited for the release. There was an announcement of Rune Factory, like the new spin-off coming out, and it comes out at the end of May for the Nintendo Switch, and then at the beginning of June as a Nintendo Switch 2 edition in a physical form and digitally. So I thought, amazing, let me wait an extra week and then play the new Rune Factory on launch. It's basically my launch game next to Mario Kart. But now, if that is actually true, I will just get the Switch version, like even a week earlier. I can already play it a week earlier, and then just get the upgrade patch for it. Like, if it's a digital download, I may as well buy it digitally if there's no other way to do it. So that's a big disappointment at the moment. It's quite frankly disastrous how Nintendo's handling the entire situation. There's no clear word really. It's quite frankly false advertising. And they announced physical releases of these editions. As far as we know, it's not a physical release. I will try to keep you up to date on this channel. Like I'm buying the Nintendo Switch 2, right? I haven't bought a new console since the original Nintendo Switch. I skipped the new Xbox, the new PlayStation. So this is my next gen system basically. And I really hope the whole situation will work out. And like, I'm hopeful. I think this can work out. I think Nintendo, especially when there's no original Switch versions anymore to make botched digital DLC code editions of anymore, the situation will even out. But as it is right now on Nintendo Switch physically, we have to support the proper releases. These are, if the download code theory here is correct, not the Nintendo Switch 2 editions. Don't buy those, they're overpriced. You can probably get the original version cheaper and get the download code for it. We do not buy the Nintendo key cards. We only buy the actual physical releases. At the moment, as far as I know, the only games that actually have those are Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. And coming in September, I think Daemon X Machina, the sequel to Daemon X Machina, which I have here somewhere, I could have gotten it out. As far as I know, also has a proper Nintendo Switch 2 version. All the other games, like the new Story Seasons, which I'm excited about, the new Rune Factory, apparently we are shit out of luck on that. So I'm trying to cover the Nintendo Switch situation, the physical game releases and launches in some way on this channel. Like, I'm interested to see how this all works out. Thank you very much for watching. I see you in the next video then. Bye.